Welcome to The Explainer. You ever wonder how massive, complex projects, think skyscrapers, power plants, you name it, don't just spin completely out of control? Well, today, we're diving into the critical role that makes it all happen. We're talking about the project's navigator, the planning and scheduling professional.
All right, so let's jump right in with a question that honestly trips up a lot of people, even folks in the industry. What is the actual difference between a project plan and a project schedule? I mean, they sound kind of the same, right? But they are absolutely not, and knowing the difference is key.
The answer to that question really lies with this person, the planning and scheduling professional, or PSP for short. Their entire world revolves around mastering that distinction. They're the specialists who develop the plan, build the schedule, and then weave them together to guide a project from just an idea all the way to the finish line as efficiently as possible.
So, here's how we're going to break down the PSP's role today. First, we'll talk about them as the project's navigator. Then we'll see how they create the blueprint for success. After that, we'll get into building the timeline, what it's like steering the ship once things get moving, and finally, we'll take a peek inside the professional's toolkit.
Okay, Section 1, the project's navigator. This is really the core idea to grasp. A PSP isn't just another manager ticking boxes. Nope. They are the chief navigator, responsible for charting the entire course before anyone even takes a single step. And this right here is their fundamental mission. They aren't just creating a bunch of documents that sit on a shelf. They are providing critical, indispensable expertise to the whole team. They're the ones who build that credible, data-driven roadmap that everyone else is going to follow. So how does that navigator actually build the map? That brings us to Section 2, Blueprint for Success. This is the all-important project planning phase, where the foundation for absolutely everything else gets laid.
To create this blueprint, the PSP guides the team through a really essential 5-step process. They're basically making sure everyone answers the 5 big questions. What exactly are we building? How are we going to break all that work down? Who is going to do it? When will they do it? And of course, the big one, how much is it all going to cost?
Now, one of the most important things to come out of that process is something called the Work Breakdown Structure, or WBS. And listen, this is way more than just a to-do list. Think of it like the detailed architectural drawing for the entire project. It breaks down the whole scope of work into smaller, manageable pieces, showing how every single part fits together. All right, Section 3, Building the Timeline. So you've got your blueprint. That's the plan. Now the navigator's job is to draw the detailed roadmap, with every single turn, every landmark, and all the estimated travel times. This is the schedule development phase. And this slide right here perfectly answers that question we started with. It's so clear. Planning is all about the what and the how. It's defining the work. Scheduling, on the other hand, is all about the when. It takes all those defined pieces of work from the plan and puts them onto a calendar, creating a logical, time-based sequence of events. Simple as that. This whole scheduling process leads to this one, single, incredibly critical document, the baseline schedule. And this isn't some rough draft, okay? This is the official, signed-off, approved version of the project timeline. From this moment on, every single bit of progress, every delay, it all gets measured against this baseline. It's the project's official clock. But the baseline schedule isn't the only thing the PSP creates here. They also generate a whole host of other super important documents. You've got the basis of schedule, which explains all the assumptions that were made. You've got cash flow projections, so finance knows when they need to have money ready, and things like resource histograms that show exactly when you'll need certain people or heavy equipment. It's the whole operational picture. On to Section 4, Steering the Ship. Okay, the plan is set, the schedule is baselined, and the project kicks off. The journey has begun. Now, the PSP's role makes a big shift. They go from being the map maker to being the active pilot, constantly watching the controls and making adjustments. Welcome to the schedule management and control phase. So, what happens when the inevitable happens? Because it always does. A key supplier is late, there's a surprise design change, a week of bad weather hits the site. No project ever goes perfectly according to plan. So how does the PSP keep the whole thing from going off the rails? Well, they use a continuous control cycle. It's a loop. First, they're constantly tracking the actual progress and comparing it against that baseline schedule. Next, they figure out how any delays are going to impact the project, especially its critical path. Then, they work with the team to come up with corrective actions, and if they have to, they formally update the schedule. It's just this constant loop. Measure,
analyze, correct, repeat.
And a huge piece of that analysis is keeping a close eye on critical activities. And what's interesting is that it's a bit more nuanced than just being on the longest path of the schedule. An activity can also become critical if, say, the team isn't working fast enough, or if it suddenly needs way more resources than are available. Or, of course, if it's about to delay a major milestone. A good PSP learns to spot these warning signs early.
And that brings us to our final section, number 5, the professional's toolkit. So what does a PSP actually need to have in their toolkit to do all this? Well, it's a really unique mix of deep technical knowledge, hands-on skills, and a strong code of ethics.
A PSP's knowledge base has to be incredibly deep and wide. They have to be masters of different scheduling methods and models. They need to understand the complex art of resource leveling, how to plan for risks, how to read complex contracts, and how to perform really detailed delay analysis. And this is the key point. This is not just about knowing how to use some software. It's about understanding the complex theory behind the software.
And this illustrates a crucial point perfectly. It goes way beyond just the technical stuff. The schedule is often tied directly to big money payments, to legal claims, and to huge financial decisions. So a true professional has to be bound by a strict code of ethics, like this one from AACE International, to make sure they're always being honest, impartial, and serving their clients and the public with integrity.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In this age of AI, big data, and predictive analytics, the tools in the Navigator's toolkit are changing fast. But as projects get more and more complex, the need for a skilled, ethical human at the helm, someone who can actually interpret all that data, ask the tough questions, and chart a credible course, well, that seems more critical than ever before.